Kenneth McDuff, a Texas-born serial killer, terrorized communities with a brutal spree that claimed at least 9 lives, possibly up to 14, between 1966 and 1992. Known as a Broomstick Killer, he raped, tortured, and murdered 3 teenagers in 1966. And after shocking parole in 1989, he killed again, targeting women like Colleen and Melissa Northrup with savage cruelty. In this documentary, we delve into McDuff's horrific crimes through the lens of psychology and psychoanalysis, unraveling the mind of a man whose bloodlust shook Texas to its core. Why shine a spotlight on Kenneth McDuff, a name that sends shivers down the spine? His crimes aren't just gruesome, they're a chilling case study in psychopathy, where sadistic impulses and a broken system collided to unleash a monster. McDuff didn't just kill, he tortured with a cold, deliberate glee that screams for psychological scrutiny. Picture this. August 6, 1966, a dusty Fort Worth field. 3 teens, Edna Sullivan, 16, Robert Brand, 17, and Mark Dunham, 15, are forced into a car trunk at gunpoint. McDuff rapes Edna, then shoots all 3, their bodies crumpling in a blood-soaked heap. Fast forward to 1991. Colleen, 28, is snatched from an Austin car wash. The New York Times reports she was tied up, tortured, and strangled, her body dumped by the Brazos River. Melissa Northrup, 22, a pregnant clerk, was abducted from a Waco store, raped, and beaten to death, her body found in a gravel pit. Each kill was methodical, drawn out, and drenched in cruelty, a predator's game that demands we ask, what kind of mind does this? Let's step back to the roots of this nightmare. Kenneth McDuff was born January 24, 1946, in Rosebud, Texas, the 5th of 6 kids in a family flush with cash from John Allen J. McDuff's concrete business. IMDb paints young Kenneth as a bully with a hair-trigger temper, coddled by his mother, Addie, the pistol-packing mama, who once threatened a bus driver with a gun for kicking her son off. This was a kid who got tough love. He got indulgence, which psychologists might flag as fostering entitlement, a seed for narcissistic personality disorder. No harsh beatings or starvation here, but lack of discipline let his aggression fester unchecked. By his teens, McDuff was a high school dropout, barely literate, and already in trouble. At 18, he was convicted of 12 counts of burglary in 1964, sentenced to 4 years but paroled in 1965. This early leniency fed his grandiose sense of invincibility. He thought he could outsmart the system. Psychoanalytically, Freud might say McDuff's ID, his raw impulses, ran wild without a strong superego to rein him in. His mother's overprotection likely fueled repression, burying any guilt beneath a need to dominate. He drifted through odd jobs, pouring concrete for his dad, later a gas station gig post-parole, never settling. Married briefly in his 20s, he had no kids and no real ties. His life was aimless, a perfect storm for chaos. Why murder? Antisocial personality disorder is a no-brainer here. McDuff showed impulsivity, no remorse, and a knack for violence from youth. True crime reporter cites FBI profiler Mary Ellen O'Toole, who worked on McDuff's case, noting his psychopathy, a complete lack of empathy, where victims were just objects to use up. His racism and misogyny, evident in targeting women and clashing with black teens, suggest projection, displacing his self-hatred onto others. By 1966, at 20, he was ready to kill, his rage fully unleashed. August 6, 1966, Fort Worth. McDuff and accomplice Roy Dale Green spot 3 teens parked at a baseball field. Unsolved mysteries recount how McDuff, armed with a .38 revolver, forced Edna Sullivan, Robert Brand, and Mark Dunham into their car's trunk. He drove to a remote field, raped Edna repeatedly, then shot all 3, emptying his gun into their bodies. Blood sprayed the ground as Edna's screams faded. Green later told police McDuff laughed, say it was like killing a chicken. They both squawk. This was an impulse. It was planned, sadistic, a power trip. Psychologically, this aligns with sexual sadism disorder, where pain and control fuel arousal. McDuff's need to dominate was visceral. His victims fear his drug. Fast forward to 1989, post-parole. Within days, he's suspected in the murder of Seraphia Parker, 29, her body found near Temple, Texas. By 1991, his spree escalates. Brenda Thompson, a sex worker, is seen kicking out McDuff's truck windshield, screaming before vanishing. Regina Moore, 21, is tied with stockings and killed near Highway 6. Cynthia Gonzalez, 23, is found dead in a creek bed, her body battered. Each death was a ritual control, rape, torture, then murder. Oxygen notes McDuff's signature. Prolonged suffering, often beating victims to the brink of death before finishing them. This reflects predatory aggression, a calculated hunt for dominance. McDuff's victims were often vulnerable, young women, sex workers, or lone workers like Melissa Northrup, a pregnant clerk abducted from a Waco quick pack in 1992. Why them? Psychologically, McDuff's misogyny and opportunistic predation targeted those society overlooked. Texas Monthly suggests he saw women as disposable, a view rooted in his narcissistic belief in his own superiority. Colleen Reed, 28, was grabbed from an Austin car wash in 1991 with accomplice Alva Hank Worley. Oxygen details how Worley watched McDuff torture her in his car, burning her with cigarettes and strangling her. Her body wasn't found until 1998, when McDuff led police to her shallow grave by the Brazos River. A witness to Brenda Thompson's abduction told police she was fighting for her life, kicking the windshield so hard it cracked. This wasn't random. McDuff chose women he could overpower, feeding his need for control. Dehumanization let him strip them of humanity, seeing them as objects to use up, as he chillingly told Worley. His racism also surfaced. He made death threats to a black teen in 1990, a parole violation ignored. His victims were anyone he could dominate, their vulnerability his trigger. Let's crack open McDuff's psyche like a vault. Antisocial personality disorder defined him. No empathy, no remorse, a life of rule-breaking. True crime reporter quotes profiler Mary Ellen O'Toole. Psychopaths like McDuff reoffend fast, often violently. His sadistic personality traits shown in his torture methods, burning victims, reviving them, prolonging pain. Narcissistic personality disorder fits too. His boastful prison demeanor and belief he'd outsmart the system's scream grandiosity. Psychoanalytically, McDuff's violence was displacement. His mother's coddling and his father's high expectations created a pressure cooker rage he couldn't express at home. Freud would say he projected this onto victims, punishing them for his own feelings of inadequacy. Jung's shadow concept applies. McDuff's good son, facade hid a monster craving chaos. His sexual sadism wasn't just about sex. It was about power, proving he was untouchable. Dallas psychologist Fred Labowitz called him soulless, beyond the scope of criminal psychology. His lack of remorse, even on his deathbed, suggests a psyche wired for destruction, not redemption. Picture this. December 29th, 1991, Austin. Colleen Reed washes her car, unaware McDuff's watching. He and Worley grab her, force her into his Thunderbird. Oxygen recounts Worley's testimony. McDuff tied her hands, burned her with cigarettes, and raped her as she begged. Her screams turned to moans, then silence as he strangled her. Her body was dumped in a remote field, bones found 7 years later. Or imagine Melissa Northrup, working alone at a Waco store, March 1992. McDuff abducts her, rapes her, and beats her to death, leaving her in a gravel pit. Deputy U.S. Marshal Parnell McNamara said, "It was the most sadistic case I've ever worked." Texas Monthly describes a witness seeing McDuff's truck at a car wash, Reed's muffled cries haunting the night. Police found blood and hairs in his car, linking him to multiple victims. Each kill was a performance. McDuff reveled in their terror, his control absolute. This wasn't rage. It was a sick ritual, a predator savoring his hunt. McDuff's spree ended thanks to America's Most Wanted. On May 4th, 1992, a co-worker in Kansas City recognized him as Richard Fowler, a garbage collector. Police arrested him at a landfill, his fake ID useless. Tried for Melissa Northrup's murder in 1993, he was convicted and sentenced to death. In 1994, he was convicted for Colleen Reed's murder, despite her body being missing at the time. On November 17th, 1998, he was executed by lethal injection at Huntsville, Texas. His last words, "I'm ready to be released. Release me, He was buried at Peckerwood Hill. Philosophically, McDuff's life is a grim lesson in nihilism. He lived for nothing but his own impulses, rejecting meaning or morality. From a Nietzschean perspective, his will to power was twisted into sadistic domination, a hollow pursuit that left only corpses. Existentially, his story asks, what happens when a man embraces only his darkest urges? His execution wasn't justice. It was a system finally correcting its own failure. Texas Monthly notes the McDuff laws tightened parole after his release, a legacy of blood that reshaped Texas justice. McDuff's end was empty, a fitting close for a man who lived without a soul.